Welcome to the Confident Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Johnson. If you find yourself here, it may mean that you're looking for courage, clarity, or confidence in some part of your life. I interview experts in business and life each week and share strategies for success, motivation, and mindset. If you want to learn more about how I can help you grow your business as an extension of yourself and help transform you into a confident entrepreneur, check out my website and online courses at jenniferannjohnson.com or join my private Facebook group at The Confident Entrepreneur. Now let's get started. Today, we welcome back into the studio, Amy Bright.
Hello.
Welcome. Hi. So Amy is the owner of Amy Bright Creative. And I know last time we were in studio, we talked about the trends for 2024 in marketing.
Yes.
Today, I want to talk about, as a business, there's so many things that are being thrown at us all the time in the marketing realm. You can do this, you can do that, on and on and on. And there's like, what do we listen to? What do we do? What are the mistakes that we're making? Because I'm sure we're making a lot of them as business owners.
I know I make plenty, that's for sure. I think that's part and parcel of being a human. So.
It is. And, you know, we learn from them every time. I keep a running, tally of like, okay, well, this magazine or this didn't work. So next time I know I'm not going to do that, or I should have changed the message on that kind of thing. So I want to just do some step throughs today about things that we're not hitting the mark on, that we could be doing better at, because it's only going to help our business, right? And the messaging. Let's start with messaging. What are we doing in the messaging area that maybe we're just not hitting it quite out of the park?
Well, and I'm going to touch back on something that you just said in terms of, maybe, magazine that didn't work or what have you. I think one of the biggest mistakes, and bring me back to the messaging if I go down a trail.
We always go down trails and then we never find our way back because we're like, what were we talking about? What brought us here?
Messaging. Put a pin in it.
I've got it.
So I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make as business owners is believing that things are going to happen overnight. That if they put something out there, oh my gosh, people are going to flood their online store, or they're going to flood their brick and mortar store, or what have you. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Everything related to marketing and advertising is relational. And I think the last time I was on your podcast, I brought up a little bit about that relationship. It's almost like dating.
Right.
There's an awareness that has to happen. If you're not aware that somebody exists, whether it's a person that you want to date, or a church that you want to attend, or a business that you may consider doing business with, if you have no awareness that business exists, you'll never become a customer.
Right.
And so, what we commonly call traditional advertising, such as magazine, print advertising, TV advertising, whether that's digital, placing ads through streaming platforms, or radio, or podcasts, or what have you. I think what people forget is that somebody will hear or see or experience your message in one place, one time, and then they'll forget about you,
right? Because
they're on to the next thing. There needs to be a saturation throughout many different platforms and media types in order to reach, enough people and to make people remember you. Because in terms of psychology, it takes 7 to 8 repetitions before anything ever even registers in your brain. So when people say to me, oh, I tried that and it didn't work, I'm like, well, how often did you do it?
Right.
How long did you do it? So I think one of the common mistakes people make is that they want everything overnight. And I had a prospect. I start everything I do with my business with a discovery call. It's a free call. It's just a conversation. It's to help my potential customer vet me out.
Right.
And or my company. And it's also about me vetting them out to see if we're going to be a good match. And I did have a prospect say to me not long ago, starting a brand new business in a market that, quite honestly, I don't know if the type of business he was talking about starting would fly in that market. It was a very local service business. And he asked me, well, if we build a website, how many visitors can you promise me every day,
Oh.
or can you guarantee? And I said, I don't think we're a good match, because if that's what you're looking for, first off, sure, we can create a beautiful website has an excellent call to action and has all the right messaging. But I can't guarantee you, based on your product offering or your service offering, that people are going to want that.
Right.
So if you're looking for immediate hits, there are people out there who will tell you they'll get immediate hits,
Right.
and they'll do all sorts of
magic. Not magic. What do you call that?
Smoke and mirrors.
There you go. That's where I was going with it.
Dark web stuff,
Right.
And they can make it look like they're doing all these things for you. But the reality is, putting a message out there that resonates with people who are going to buy takes time. Slow down, people. I understand. I feel the same way. When I started this, I've been in this industry for over 25 years. But when I started this business, I had, there's a sense of urgency, like, okay, I got to make this happen.
Right.
I got to make money, and it just doesn't happen that way.
No. Slow and steady wins the race, right?
That's right. The tortoise and the hare story exists for a reason.
And it's so hard as a business owner, right? Because you're like, I'm grinding away at this. So I'm just going to say blogging. Okay. I'm going to bring up blogging. I'm grinding away at doing this blog, and I do it every day. I'm not seeing anything off of it. It's not intended to see anything off of it today.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
It's supposed to be so that people can, let's say somebody is searching a certain topic that you've done a blog on, and they stumble across it, and they that may be a tripwire for them to go, wow, I think these are great people. I'm going to work with them.
Right. Or they say, oh, now I know that place exists because they wrote this wonderful article that really served me, that really met a need. I was online searching for something very specific, and here's an article that really helped me.
Right.
Awareness.
Exactly.
One time of awareness does not a conversion make.
That's great.
But now at least they're aware that you exist. And then, hopefully there's some, if you have a way of tracking who your visitors are, and there's, all sorts of fancy things you can do with IP addresses and all kinds of technology you can use to do that. But generally speaking, when people are looking for speed over accuracy, it makes me nervous. And it's a very hard thing to explain to people. Same thing with building a website. Sure, you can have the greatest website in the world. It can say all the right things, but the idea is you have to drive traffic to it.
Right.
And, driving the traffic to it is what begins to build that awareness and that confidence. And, I've dipped my toe into this pool of an organization, and I like them. I can relate to them. I like what they stand for. Someday, when I'm ready to purchase what they're offering, I trust them.
Yep.
And that does not happen overnight.
You're right. Know, like, and trust.
That's right.
It's the customer journey.
Yep.
And that it takes time. You have to think of it in the terms of, oh yes, well, I'm a customer too of brands. What is my journey look like?
And it's so individual. Dale Carnegie is famous for saying the one thing that people are interested in more than anything else in the world, guess what?
What?
Themselves. So you have to really tune into, I call it the WIIFM channel. What's in it for me?
Yes.
And so if you have something that you're trying to get people to buy, whether it's a widget, a service, a product, doesn't matter, a book, doesn't matter, having a message that resonates with your target audience is what's going to get them interested in you. Much like it's like dating, I see this person is, they're interested in, they're obsessed with sports. Well, I'm not. So probably not going to work out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
it's kind of that old 80-20 rule. 80%, when you advertise, 80% of it is, what's in it for me? What am I getting out of this? The other 20% is actually selling them.
Right. Is saying, I've got the thing for you.
Right.
So people that come out of the gate, like, buy my thing, buy my thing, buy my thing, is very off-putting.
Yes.
Like, think about going to a party. This is an analogy I use with clients a lot. If you go to a party and say, you've got a pocket full of, something you're trying to sell. And you go to every person in that party and say, hey, look what I've got. You want to buy this? You want to, like the guy with the trench coat, want to buy a watch?
Oh my gosh. Right. Yes, exactly.
I mean, you're going to run the other way
You're
as
desperate.
fast as you can. Yes. And it just, as opposed to the person trying to sell the watches and the trench coat or whatever, just having a conversation. You don't even know they sell watches.
Right.
You just want to get to know them. And then they're like, oh, by the way, what do you do? Oh, I sell these amazing watches. Oh, really? Tell me more about that. You know what I mean? It's a relationship.
Absolutely. Is your closet overflowing? Or maybe your kids' closets are as well. Or maybe you just want to redecorate your house. If you're wondering what to do with all that stuff that you've accumulated, bring it all to True Fashionistas or even ship it to them for free. They'll sell your unwanted items for you by taking away all the hassle and doing all the work. And all you have to do is sit back and collect your money. You can reach out to them online at truefashionistas.com or come into the store or check them out on Facebook or Instagram. That's truefashionistas.com. Welcome back, friends. We are back in the studio with Amy Bright at Amy Bright Creative, and we're talking about marketing and marketing things that we're not quite getting 100%, that we can do better, right? Things we can do better. So the next thing, I know we were talking about messaging, and it kind of goes along with your brand voice and all of that, all tied together.
Consistent messaging.
I like
across
that.
every channel.
And I like consistency. Let's talk about consistency and using your voice.
Yes. Well, I will use an example, not a specific brand, but there's a very interesting thing happening with commercials right now, whether it's commercials that are being served on streaming platforms or on traditional TV, it doesn't matter, or YouTube or what have you, just the video and the audio. So many drug companies right now, I've discovered this formula and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. They're all following a similar formula. So many of the drugs today have like a 3-syllable name and they have a little jingle with the 3-syllable name. But now that I say this to you,
I'm thinking one right now. Can I say it?
I don't know. Can you?
It's my show. I'll say
it's your
it.
show.
Oh,
Zempic. Right. Yes. And now that I've said that, you're going to start noticing it more and more. And then the branding, and I think it's genius. I'm not putting it down whatsoever because they've given you an earworm.
Earworm.
They've also given you a visual worm because they've taken their logo, which has typically 2 to 3 very distinct colors. And in the commercial, you'll notice every prop, it's so orchestrated, of course, because it's production, but every piece of clothing, glasses, jewelry, everything in the shot is somehow an iteration of the brand coloring. It's brilliant.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm never, it's like being in Toastmasters. Someone had said the other day, like, I can never listen to somebody speak again without critiquing them.
Or listening for ums and
ahs.
Yes.
And now I'm going to be watching these drug commercials because that's all that's on TV.
Yes.
Right. And I'm going to be like,
it's very formulaic. And I don't have anything against the formula because it's apparently working.
Yeah.
And so you look at that and talk about brand consistency. And boy, if you visit those websites, it's the same thing. You're going to be flooded with the brand colors. And, a lot of people get stuck with a brand. They think, oh, it's a logo and some colors. No, there's a lot more to it than that. It's in brand voice. Well, what does that mean? I don't understand what that means. It's about everything. It's the essence of the brand. It's kind of like a personality. Everything about, what I know about Jennifer Johnson. You love the color pink.
Right.
Whenever I see pink, I think of Jennifer Johnson. And, you're bubbly, you have a certain personality that everything you touch kind of brings that along with it. That's what branding, that's very, a very diluted way to talk about branding.
But it helps us make sense and wrap our brains around it.
Right. And so when you see something that is indicative of brand X, your brain thinks, oh, brand X, like think of any major brand in the world. And then, to parlay that, they're putting that in all of their advertising, all the coloration, the music, the feeling, the sense of what people get when they engage with your brand. And, you look at, major brands like Coca-Cola. does Coca-Cola really need to advertise?
Right.
I mean, realistically,
No. Right.
plenty of people love
Mhm.
Coke, but you know why they do it? Is to keep that brand on top of your
Top of
thought
mind.
process. Yep, top of mind. Yep.
That makes complete
Yeah.
sense.
So I think what a lot of people do, we're sort of covering a lot of things and
Mhm.
circling back, is thinking, oh, I'm going to put this really cool ad in a glossy magazine and my people are going to be knocking on my door. No, it doesn't work that way. It's just
Right.
they got to know your brand a little bit. They
Mhm.
saw the colors. Now perhaps they see something served on a streaming service that is also in the same vein as that print advertising. Oh, ding, that's two. Then they hear something on, you know, a radio station or Pandora or any of the listening
Mhm.
platforms, and ding, oh, that sounds familiar. There's that jingle, or there's
Right.
that catchphrase or whatever. So all of that helps lead the customer into the buying relationship with you.
It's their customer journey.
It's their customer
Right.
journey. We're back to the journey. Yes.
Right.
And it is a journey.
Mhm.
It-
That doesn't happen overnight. It can
No.
take years.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get hit on the head by a piano falling out of a high rise, that's great. But that's not how advertising
Right.
works.
And you just have to stay the course and have patience with it
right.
and know that.
Yes.
And the people that aren't willing to do that, then, I
Yeah.
guess I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
But
And it does take budget.
Mhm.
I will say, you know, and going back to your original question, what are some of the mistakes people
Mhm.
make? If I had a nickel for every client that said, how much is this going to cost? Well, that's a very nuanced question
Mhm.
because what is your intention? You know, who are you trying to reach? Where are those people located?
Mhm.
How are we going to locate them? And, you know, knowing, if I could give advice to business owners,
Mhm.
have an idea of what you want to spend in marketing. The Small Business Administration gives like a range that's these days, I don't know if it's anywhere from 3% to I think 20, don't quote me, but some, you know,
Right. Some percentage of
20-ish,
your
I think,
income.
percentage
Mhm.
of your top line
Mhm.
sales, not your income, but
Oh,
your
your
actual
top line sales.
yes, should be devoted to marketing and
Mhm.
advertising. Now, I tell people, you know, that the sweet spot to me is about 7.
Mhm.
You could bring that down to like 3%, but many entrepreneurs just don't have that.
Right.
They're not even sure what their top line sales are yet.
Right.
And yet they want immediate results.
Mhm. I know that's hard, right?
That's, you know, I don't know any marketing person that's a magician.
Mhm.
And pricing structure is so nuanced in
Yeah.
my industry. You know, it boils down to time, and
Mhm.
time is money.
Right.
And so once I understand what somebody really needs, then it's okay, now I need to figure out how much time that's going to take, how many resources that's going to take. I may be on the low side, I might be on the high side.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's like, how much does cheese cost?
Right.
I don't know. Well, what kind of cheese is it? How much are you buying? Is it from a special artisan cheesemaker from the United
Right.
States, or is it being imported from Europe? I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many
Variables.
variables
Yeah.
to cost. But knowing what you want to spend up front, I have a grocery budget and I can afford this on cheese. And then you can tell the company you're
Right.
working with, this is what I have to spend. And in my opinion, you know, depending on the company, the way I operate is, well, you know, I can do this with that.
Mhm. Right.
And you know, if you can work with that, then here's what I can do for you.
Right. And they can start somewhere at least.
Start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, it has been a delight talking about small business marketing and the things that we can do better at for this year. If our listeners want to get a hold of you, Amy, how can they do so?
The easiest thing is to visit amybrightcreative.com. You can send me a message. You can set up a discovery call. My phone number is on there. I mean, it's the one-stop shop to reach me.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again, Amy.
My pleasure.
And thanks, my friends, for joining me today and every week here on The Confident Entrepreneur, brought to you by True Fashionistas. If you want a deeper dive, or if you want to check out my online courses for your small business, head to my website, jenniferannjohnson.com. Have a fabulous day.